welcome back. I'm Tom Van Ness, your guide, your host for Guide Through Grief. Thanks for coming back, or thanks for just starting your journey with us today. I have a really exciting guest and co-host and guide for our conversation today. It's going to be one of two episodes. Uh, this gentleman, this great person, is going to be joining us on. So I'm going to first, before we go anywhere else, let him introduce himself and give a little bit of background to who he is and why he's here, or why I asked him to be here. So, Ryan, please.
Yes. Well, Tom, thank you. It is an honor to be here. This is really kind of unusual. It's a change in our context. Tom and I meet a lot with his permission. He's given me the permission to be here. I am his therapist and have been his therapist for quite some time. My name is Dr. Ryan Stivers. I'm a marriage and family therapist. And my goodness, my wife and I have been in private practice for several years. And we own and operate our own group practice here in the area. And we do a lot of different work with a lot of different things and topics and needs of the people that we work with. And it's just been an honor to work with Tom. Gosh, it's been probably a good 6 years, I think, if I remember right.
Mhm. We
Yeah.
were looking at the numbers my last time in, like how
Yeah.
many appointments has there been?
Oh my goodness. Um, do you really want me to tell you? Because I have a rough estimate.
It's all right. We'll come back to that another day.
Okay. I was gonna say we could do a guessing game on that.
Yeah.
High, low. Yeah.
No, I mean, and that's that's I think that's one purpose of why I wanted Ryan to be a part of this journey and explain this journey, that a lot of the conversations here that we're going to have involve my journey after Leslie passing away.
Hmm.
But it was the foundation of my therapy and my relationship with my therapist that allowed me to tackle this grief with so much more confidence and security of what I needed. Because I joke with Ryan and even like my mom and some other friends that, easily the next relationship I'm most scared about losing is the one with my therapist, because Ryan just knows more about me than anyone else out there after Leslie did. And I think it's really important for people to understand there's great value in therapy and having a safe place where you can share your struggles, your thoughts, your concerns. And I just wanted Ryan to be on here so people could understand that there's a comfort level, there's a relationship. It doesn't have to feel awkward when you get into therapy. And of course, if we're going to sit here and talk about my journey and the things that have gone on in my head and my heart and my spirit, um, I want to be upfront and share that story with y'all. And what better to then have Ryan here? But before we go, he saw, hey, what's that red box? And the red box is our game.
Oh boy.
Um, it's, I guess, because we've done some recording, I've done this with some other guests that have been here, but I think this will be the first time our listeners and our viewers will know of this game.
Okay.
So this game is
big debut.
Yeah. So it's we're not really strangers. It's
Okay.
something I think I saw like on TikTok or
Okay.
Instagram, and there's like this red phone, and then there's this card, and people like turn over this card and they like answer the question or read what's on the card and kind of reflect on it.
Okay.
And it's just a chance to get to know the person
like
better.
it.
So
I like it.
yeah,
I'm game.
there's a perception level,
Okay.
there's a connection level,
Okay.
and there's a reflection level. So I'll go first, and I'm gonna go reflection.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick a random one out. Okay. Well, this one's just weird. So I guess dare your partner to do something outside of their comfort zone in the next week. I would say kids, I guess, or maybe myself because I don't have a partner. But um, I think like if I were to ask my boys now to do something outside of their comfort zone, going, especially like going into the summer, um, or even myself, it would encourage us to journal a little bit more. Both the boys and I read a lot. I do some journaling that's more prompted from certain questions that gets my mind going. I think it would be really healthy for the boys and I to just be able to write freely some of our stuff.
Okay.
Um, and I think that would take, that's a little uncomfortable for, I think, anyone at any age if you're not used to doing
Yeah.
it. So I think
Right.
that's probably where I would go. I'll hand the box over to you.
Right. I'll just take the perception level here. All right. Do I seem like a morning person or a night owl, and why? Ooh.
So am I supposed to answer? I guess I'm supposed to answer that.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and that's good because I only know you like during the
Yeah.
daytime when
Yeah.
we meet.
1 hour
So
a week, right?
yeah.
What do you think? What am I, Tom?
I mean, I take you all the way as a morning person. I mean, you're probably not, but I just you. I feel like with I know you have some kids. I know you have an amazing practice with a lot of things going on. So usually those types of um, uh, you and your wife, I just would take have to get up and going. And so you've made yourself into morning people. You maybe not originally, but you are now.
I think you nailed it. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm in transition from a night person to a morning person. That's actually a really good one. You got me, man. You got
All
me.
right. Sweet. Oh, so there we go.
All
That's
right.
we're not really strangers, and yeah, we're definitely what a fun little one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks
Yeah.
for doing that. And you'll have to come back to the next episode to see, what guest pulls the question.
Ooh.
So um so um today we're here to talk one of two episodes you're going to join me on. And this one I kind of called mine my therapy. I want to talk about the benefits of having an outlet for your
Yeah.
mental health. And I think that was
Yes.
really important. And I'm reading my goals because I don't want to mess this up. I think this
Yeah.
is important. Um, Having an outlet for your mental health and what experiences I gained pre and post loss of Leslie through a few experiences I had as a patient of yours, and talk about some of the experiences and the observations that we got through it. So,
Mm.
um, I guess to give a little pre deal, there was uh, 3.5 years. Um, I think we met before Leslie
Right.
passed. I
Right.
mean, so a really good foundation. Um, I think by the time, just before Leslie passed, we were meeting twice,
Mm-hmm.
twice a month,
Mm-hmm.
maybe once, maybe three times, just kind of depending how things were going. Um, I honestly just enjoyed being able to come in. Leslie and I,
Mm-hmm.
when we moved here, we moved away from our family, moved away from our friends. The boys, we had two kids under the age of two. Um, and so I think having and understanding the proper outlets for me to communicate um, and feel secure were really formed with you and helped strengthen Leslie and I. And I talked a lot about with friends and family if I'm most bitter about anything. Leslie and I kind of called it rolled up our sleeves because we had every opportunity, both of us, to where we were asking, did we do the right thing in getting married?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, we probably weren't far away from having those really heavy conversations of what it was going to be like if we wouldn't be together anymore. And we both were sitting in your office one day and looked at each other and said, "We haven't done the work." And like, do we both want to do the work? And we
Hmm.
looked at each other and rolled up the sleeves,
Yep.
I called it, and like we went after it. And um man, we were like having the best years of our life.
Mhm.
From that point on, like there was definitely some work there and getting out of, trying to help support each other more and listen to each other more and all of those things that we need in a relationship. Um, but man, there was just so much once we learned how to support each other and love each other and really do some things we didn't know how to do, maybe because we leaned on our family too much,
Right.
and being new parents and all of those things that
Right.
come along with it. Um, it we were having the best years of our life when it could
Mm.
have all been shit. Um, and then after all of that work and all of the bliss and the blessing from that work,
Right.
it goes.
Yeah.
Boom,
Yeah.
gone. Went from a fishing trip to being in the ER
Yeah.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's that was the background, sorry, I got caught off there. Um, but that was the frustrating part to me. Um, that was, I think, my main source of anger. Um, but I guess that was the context of pre Leslie
Hmm.
passing away.
Hmm.
I routinely set up. Now, if we talk about Leslie passing away, um, the day she passed away, I remember emailing you.
Yes.
I already had an appointment set for you the
Yes.
next day.
Yeah.
I really
Right.
enjoyed having appointments set up with you after coming back from a family vacation.
Yeah.
Like, like e- every
Well,
mom and dad listening to this right now,
good
every
time.
grandparent, like when you come home and you need a vacation from your vacation because
Go see your
the
therapist.
kids or the
Right.
parents or the bad travel, whatever it may be, like you just want to pull your hair out a little bit, maybe. Like my vacation from a vacation was my appointment with Ryan. And like
Wow.
like um that it was where I could talk about like, if I was frustrated about something, I could get to the bottom of it, if I was really happy with how things were going and how things were going, it was usually a couple weeks before, we'd last talked when I set up appointments like this. Um, so there's just always a lot of catch up as well. Um, and so I emailed him. I'm like, kind of gave
Mm.
him like two sentences, like,
Just remember she's gone.
she's gone. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
She's
how I
gone.
started
Yep.
it. She was in the hospital
Yeah.
7 days. She's gone. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And the best thing that came out of COVID were virtual
Oh
appointments.
yeah.
Like
Yes.
people make jokes, Illinois does a lot of things wrong. They
They
got they
they get
got virtual
telehealth right.
appointments. Yeah,
Yep.
they got telehealth right.
Yep.
If it wasn't for telehealth, I don't know how long I could have
Right.
stayed with you.
Right.
Especially now. Your office is almost a 40-minute drive.
Right.
um 30-minute drive, I guess, round trip. It's an hour to do an hour
Yep.
appointment, so it's a 2 hour dedication to get over to you. My employers, no matter who they've been, have always given me that time to go there, but it's sometimes easier to just step out. I literally walk into the car, I set my phone up on the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a FaceTime
Yep.
call. If I'm working from home, I've done it from my office, I've had a call with you from here.
Yep.
um so if you're worried about the time it is to get to where you want to go or the therapist you want to have, like telehealth is a real
Yeah.
thing. And that's not to take away. I love being in person with Ryan. There is a connection you have with your therapist. And I think being in person to establish that relationship is really phenomenal and a great opportunity and probably encouraged by your community, Ryan, and by therapy. And telehealth has just been a savior for me to continue my work, continue my growth. Um, so there's the plug-in for that and the pat on the back for the state of Illinois for making these mandatory, via insurance and making sure that offices, have the accessibility to the technology for them and all the other things I don't even know that go behind the execution of this. Ryan probably has to spend a lot of money on his practice to keep lines secure and the technology there to do it. And so it's dedication from everyone to give us this outlet. And then I say that because the day after Leslie passed away was the appointment, was also the same day I ended up being able to fly home.
Mhm.
Um, by the time I landed, I was able to get to the Starbucks you drove by to get here.
Mhm.
That's where I had the call with you
Yeah.
that day.
Yep.
Um, there was 5 minutes of that call. I hate this day. This day sucked. Like,
It did.
yeah. I will talk about it in other episodes. I, the span from when Leslie went into the hospital to the day she passed away was one level of hard that is just still to this day so hard to accept. But when you're a parent,
Changes it.
yeah,
Whole nother level of
whole
hard.
nother level.
Yeah.
We talk about Leslie and I talked about the love we had for each other was so great and so strong and so unbreakable, and that we were just so willing to work hard for each other and roll up the sleeves for each other. Like, the love we have for our children was even stronger and greater than that. So then imagine the news you have to deliver
Mhm.
that their mom is gone.
I remember you were in so much shock on that call with me. You didn't know what to say, even how to say it. We spent a good chunk of that conversation just talking about how to break the news to your boys because you're like, Ryan, here in a few hour or two, or I
No,
can't exactly remember the timings. Like, I'm
two
gonna go,
minutes after we'd
yeah,
get done with the call,
yeah,
I was pulling into the
yeah,
driveway and that was going to happen.
yeah. I'm gonna sit down with my boys and break the news to them. What do I do? That was so incredibly hard.
Yeah, and it was, I spent the night before thinking about it,
Right.
rehearsing it,
Uh huh.
and I wanted to run it by you.
Yep.
Um, and and you gave me, and I guess to pause the point of like kind of explain some of the background of the relationship Ryan and I have. Um, Ryan doesn't sit there and tell me all these things I have to do and demand all of these things from me. He helps me organize my thoughts and the pain and the scars and the things that I have in my life. But he doesn't dictate what I do with that information once I start to process it and understand it. So, very few times in our relationship and in our conversations has Ryan ever instructed me what to do.
That was one of those moments.
This was one of
Yeah.
those moments.
Yeah.
And um, Leslie used to call me out on my BS for like trying to sell her because I'm in sales. And so I'm always long winded. I always have things to say. I always like giving great explanation behind things. And so I wanted to read the boys this book and this information I got from my friends the night before, uh, explaining string and all of these different things. And Ryan just stopped me and said, "Dude, you need to treat this like a band-aid. You need to walk in there and just rip it off.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
they are young.
Yeah.
They don't understand anything but
It's the facts.
yeah, yeah,
And one of the things I remember from that is I think you were struggling with just their own emotional reaction to this news. Like, I almost feel like you were trying to maybe protect them from feeling the hurt and the pain. And I think that's one of the reasons why you were kind of trying to find a soft landing for them in some sort of metaphor or, what have you. So you were really struggling
Mhm.
with, I don't want to see my boys hurt,
Yeah,
which is normal.
yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And we've probably talked about that before even or even that day. Um, yeah, but I think what ended up happening, Ryan, from, not only in that moment of, fast forward to, I took him into the bedroom,
Mhm.
because yeah, well, yeah, let's keep talking about this before I explain it because you we did talk about the setting I wanted to have, which probably matches with what you just said.
Mhm.
I wanted to try to create a soft landing for
Mhm.
them the best I could.
Mhm.
And every morning the boys walked into our bedroom to tell us good morning and like to give mom and I a
Right.
hug and a kiss and say good morning and can we turn on the
Right.
TV or whatever,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
The routine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, part
Very
of the
important
routine.
routine. Yep.
Yeah. And so decided to kind of that was a safe place for them.
Exactly.
And so take them into the bedroom, sit them on the
Right.
bed and tell them and then wait.
Mhm.
Hold them,
Yep.
love them, cry with them,
Exactly.
just be there for them. Don't sell them anything.
Mhm.
Don't sugarcoat a damn thing. Um, cry, scream,
Exactly.
just do it. Um, and then at that point, we talked about then having all of the grandparents right outside the door. They were sitting on a couch that sat outside the bedroom door, kind of in the great
Mm.
room, living room area, whatever you call it. Um, and so then when we would eventually walk out of the bedroom, they would see the people that would be there to support them no matter what,
Mhm.
no matter what the immediate future was going to hold the rest of their life. They were going to be the people that were going to fill in the best they could
Right.
on the sidelines, at birthday parties and holidays and everyday life where their mom was no longer going to be. I didn't know at that time my brother, uh, my brother Ben and sister Jen were on their way up. So when we came out of the bedroom, they were there too, which was really special to
Mm.
have them there. Um, but I remember telling them, and I try to tell myself that I black out and I don't remember it. I think it's just the fact I don't want to talk about it. It was really crazy to see Cameron, as soon as I say it, look at Sterling and look for his reaction. So it's
Mm.
just really interesting to kind of watch
Mhm.
that all go. And because of the advice you gave of just not say much and kind of watch that unfold, um, was really special as a parent in such a dark moment because I saw the fact that these brothers like instantaneously built a bond that's going to be like completely inseparable. So I was really excited about and still feel so blessed to this day about that conversation we had and how all of the work I had done and stayed with it
Mhm.
and through our relationship will forever be paid off and paid back infinite times because of that conversation. And I think that's just the power of therapy.
Mm.
And I think that's the power of having someone that you can trust to share the things that really scare the shit out of you.
Mhm.
And you think we're going to have people and you have friends and family members that you trust to talk about those things with. And you very well may do. I came to find, and it's nothing against my friends and my family. I did not. I I needed a safer space, especially now with Leslie gone, because I didn't have the combination of my wife, and then if there was still things lingering there with Ryan to help. So I hope, if anything, the story and the value of what I got from the hardest thing in my life was infinitely times easier because of the work I'd done with
Mm.
my therapist. And so thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, Tom.
I appreciate you very much for that. And I got way off track, so I apologize.
This is
Um,
kind of what our sessions feel like too, right, Tom?
yeah, a little bit of time. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm trying to keep that boundary up. So I think moving on from that, and I mean, I guess before I move on from that, is there anything you would like to share, Ryan, about people that might be sitting on the fence and thinking about, you know, if therapy is right for them, you know, a couple ways to go about it, or maybe do any research or off anything we've said here so far today.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say. I think it's normal to have hesitation to jump into a therapy relationship. It's a bit intimidating thinking, first I need to find someone to talk to and have help. But, to know how to start, how to find someone, to be the thought of even being vulnerable with a stranger, um, can be very intimidating. And I just got to say, based on what you just said, Tom, sharing your story, thank you for doing that with me here in such a vulnerable way. Um, I'm thinking about kind of your process with that, deciding to get help way back in, gosh, 2018 or whenever it was when you started, but to take that leap and push through that anxiety and be like, hey, here I am. That, like you said, that set you up to do the work, to go through a process that you had no clue that you would be in this spot today. I mean, if you look back how, when you were 37, 36, when you started with me, you would have never have known that you would be right here in this moment, having gone through what you have, but you took that risk, um, got yourself some help, did some work, um, so that when it did occur, you were ready for it. So, to the folks who are listening to this, don't ever be afraid to ask for help, um, because you never know what's in front of you on that road. And it's going to be a journey. It's going to have twists and turns, ups and downs, valleys and hills. You don't know what's ahead of you. You don't have to do that alone, and you're going to find um, so much more support and perspective by asking for help.
Yeah, and I know the other episode we're going to dive in more on the asking for help part,
Hmm.
and those struggles and hurdles that come along with it. So I think uh, we definitely went through some significant time meeting 2 times a week.
Yes, there's quite a bit right after that,
Yeah, and
and you needed it.
yeah, I definitely needed
Yeah.
it, and became the harder heart aches and breaks that followed it, because it was Leslie's passing, then it was Sterling's
Yes.
birthday,
Multiple things.
less than a month later,
Yeah.
and then less than a month after that was our wedding anniversary,
Yeah.
and it was what
Boom. Boom. Boom.
yeah, it just seemed like 60 days, and even take a month after that was the 4th of July, which was the one holiday we always went back to Quincy for.
Mm.
And always it was, I think, behind Christmas and Thanksgiving, like one of our biggest family gathering holidays. So there was just a string of hard events to follow. There was the end of a school year.
Could you imagine of doing all that by yourself? I mean, that would have been so many, impact points of you have just got to survive each moment.
Yeah, and it was, and I think to clarify for our listeners, at least I can hear a couple of my friends saying like, "Tom, didn't you do it by yourself?" Like, yeah, like I didn't have another person that helping me get the kids the here and there. What Ryan is mentioning is the fact that doing it without like someone in your corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there was shame
Yep.
and guilt,
Yes.
regret,
Hmm.
a lot of really my head and heart were under attack
Yeah.
from so many painful and hurtful emotions that if I didn't have the resource of talking with Ryan, if I didn't have someone that I knew I could go to judgment free without
Right.
criticism, without any of those fears, I could not have done it.
Yeah.
I would have broken down. I would have decided to move back to Quincy. I Hell, I could have been admitted, to some. I
Yeah.
don't even know what could have
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
There was,
Well,
I had some dark damn
you
spots with your help.
Yeah, and from what I remember, you had a lot of expectations for yourself on how you should be handling that. And some of those expectations were not very nice. I mean, they were really harsh.
Yeah, I to this day will have to sit back and I will hear your voice, Ryan, say, Tom, your expectations are too high for
Exactly.
yourself right now.
Right. Right.
And a lot of times I agree with Ryan.
A lot of the times. There's sometimes you don't agree with me.
Sometimes I go back and forth. It's a tug of war.
Fair enough.
Sometimes Ryan wins, and sometimes I revert, and I keep my expectations at a level that are either A, unsustainable, or B, unachievable,
Mhm.
or I guess C, maybe both. And I'm definitely entering another season of those kinds of feelings and things coming up. And we're not going to talk about those today because that's a therapy session that we have scheduled for
Exactly.
next week. Um, but I think we can talk about, and what I wanted to talk about was some of the ways I handled those situations. And one of them, which I got to take a second to talk about, you dived into yourself, Ryan.
Okay.
And uh, it was my music.
Mhm.
It was um,
Yep.
it was Dave Matthews
Yep.
Band.
Yeah.
It was definitely Dave Matthews Band. Um, they were one of my favorite bands. They were definitely the band I'd seen most. Um, it wasn't a band Leslie and I went to a lot together, but it was one that was special to me. It was one that I'd always listened to. There was a trip Leslie had purchased for me just a couple months before she passed away. That was like a 3-day uh, camping trip with Dave playing every night over Labor Day weekend. They call it Labor Dave. Um, there's all kinds of stuff
The
littered
gorge.
in this studio and
Yes.
outside my
It's
door
it's
from,
pretty cool.
yeah. So
That's
um,
awesome.
I they put out a new album
Hmm.
a month and a half after Leslie passed away. There were some songs that hit incredibly hard. Um, I really leaned into their music to to get through.
Hmm.
I don't think there's any other way to put it. Um, I was a music minor in college. I sang in choirs from like fifth grade on. Got a college scholarship to sing in choir.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah, so I mean,
know.
like
That's cool.
I I
Next
love.
session, you need to sing. I want you to bring a piece and
We'll
sing for me. Okay.
we'll see what we can do. um, but music was another form of my therapy.
Mhm.
It's where I could definitely escape to. I still use music today with my running, with social media
Excellent.
posts. Um, you know, plug it in right now. I am still not giving up on trying to get Dave Matthews Band to give me approval and rights to use Steady as we go for this podcast. Um, Steady as we go was the song.
You're still chasing it.
Still chasing it.
Yeah.
I've been to like 19 shows, I think now, trying to
Yeah.
catch that song. Why that song?
So, Dave, if you're listening, please play it this summer.
Yeah, if anyone knows someone with a band or with the rights to the music, let's try to make this happen. I have 8 more concerts I'm going to this summer, so I'm not giving up. But steady as we go. There was one night Leslie was in the hospital when she was in a
Mm,
coma, and I had I had no other prayers. I had
mm,
no other things to say, and I just started singing that song. And I found myself just singing her that song a bunch that week. And it has lines like, I'll go halfway around the world just to sit down at your side, and
mm.
um, memories are as good as gold. And there's, it's just a beautiful song.
Yeah,
And um, so, yeah, so their music became therapeutic.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
I think you started to
Yeah.
learn or
Yeah.
become inquisitive
I did.
of how music and one band.
So profound for you because you would talk about it so much in our sessions.
Yeah. And so what'd you do?
Oh, yeah. That's so, yeah. My wife and I went to a training in Miami last year, so 2024. And we were just looking around for things to do. Because you go to your training, you do your conferences or whatever during the daytime, and then you've got your evenings open. And my wife and I we structure kind of a vacation sort of vibe as well around these trainings. It's one of the great things to work with your wife. We get to do that. Anyway, I was just looking around, and lo and behold, Dave has a concert at West Palm Beach. And at the time, now I know, but at the time I know that's one of the premier venues, West
Mhm.
Palm Beach, that he really enjoys playing at. It's usually a two-nighter, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I thought, well, gosh, Tom talks so much about Dave Matthews. I'm gonna go check this thing out. Now, I gotta say, in my defense, I have been familiar with his music for quite some time. The popular stuff that you hear, Ants Marching, Crash, maybe even Number 41. But I didn't really pay any attention to him, right? Until Tom. Um, so we caught, I think, night one of West Palm Beach after our
Mhm.
training. And oh my gosh, it was insane because our training ended and we hauled our butts up the interstate. And I forget what it is that connects Miami between West Palm Beach. And I underestimated the traffic. So the entire time I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to miss the opening. We're going to miss the opening. And we finally got there. We're running to our seats as he's opening with Trippin' Billy's, and finally get to our seats. And the night was just awesome. Um, I was most impressed by the atmosphere of the other fans.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got a couple fan stories. Is it okay if I just, it won't take long.
Sure.
Just let
No,
me
go
throw it
for it.
because it kind of adds to my experience with like, this is my first Dave
I
concert.
still want to hear
And I'm
this.
like, wow, what have I been doing all my life? So we're standing in line to get merch. My wife and I are big concert goers and we enjoy concerts. So we always have to check out the merch stand, and we're standing in line to get our shirts or whatever. And this lady is behind us and taps my back. I turn around and she's handing me this sticker, and I'm like, oh, no, thank you. I don't, I don't need a sticker. And I'm like, gosh, is this thing like laced with LSD or something? She just trying to give me a drug. I mean, that's literally what I was thinking. And so I turned around and she taps my back again, and kind of has this really strange look on her face, and she's like, "Here, you take this sticker." And I look down, and it's, "Don't burn the day," and there's like a pig on it with sunglasses, and it's her swag. And at the time, I didn't know that Dave fans do this swag exchange.
You
I
thought
I
people
I I
thought
thought
Taylor Swift
I know,
fans created
right.
it. No,
I
no,
had no
no.
idea what was going on. It's the first time I've ever been to a concert that did that. The fan base actually did that. It's a tradition in the fan base. So, but she explained that to me, and I was wearing a green Billy Goat Tavern shirt to this concert, and she just tapped my, she just wanted to give it to me. She's like, "I really love your shirt." She's like, "I'm from Chicago, and I really love your shirt. I love the Billy Goat Tavern here." And she was actually kind of insulted. If you're out there listening to this, I'm so sorry. I forget your name. So I learned something there, and that was just really cool. Great experience. And as we were walking to our seats, as Trippin' Billy's was playing, I'm carrying my hot dog. I've got my shirt. My hands are full of stuff. And this fan reaches over and takes my hot dog.
What? I never
I
heard
didn't
this
tell you about
story.
this.
No.
Yeah, we were like, you're doing that shuffle because the reserve seats, everybody's kind of crammed in there. I'm just shuffling along. This dude reaches around, just takes my hot dog. I'm like, "What the hell? What are you doing with my hot dog?" He's laughing, having a good time, hands it back to me. It's just, and that's the way it was the whole night. You could just see everyone was there. They wanted to have a good time. They were friendly. The atmosphere was just awesome. It was West Palm Beach, night one. Everyone was having a good time. And that just kind of sat with me the whole experience. I felt so embarrassed. I didn't know the deep tracks. Again, I just knew the popular stuff, but I didn't care. Just being around those people, I was like, this, and seeing Dave up on the stage, just being Dave, like leaving it all on the stage. It was just an inspiration to me. Like, watching Dave live his best life up there, I was like, dang,
Yeah.
it was awesome. I was hooked.
Yeah. And I think that was another it I like it's not a turning point, but I think what was really unique about that is um I was that was that was 6 or 7 shows into like an 18, 19 show run.
Yeah, and you had gone to Tampa the night before.
Yeah,
I think it
yeah.
was Tampa, then West Palm
Yeah, it was
Beach.
2 night yeah, it was yeah, there was just a night or 2 before. It was the tour opener.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was worried, maybe a little shamed about going off to these concerts, um, at times, whether it be like dad guilt,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Getting to have fun or doing what you need to do while the kids were back home.
yeah, or just kind of filling my own mug, my own glass,
Mm-hmm.
just recharging my own battery. And it wasn't the fact that like any family or friends were like, dude, you need to stop. What are you doing? There was definitely conversations of like, oh, you're going to another one, and you get that. Even if I was on the phone with them, I could hear their head nodding and their kind of eyes rolling in
Yeah.
the back of their head.
Yes, again.
We've all been on that kind of conversation where you can hear the eye roll. You don't need to
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
Um, but the concerts also became a place where I learned and taught myself to smile,
Mm. Not to be just well,
sing.
be your silly self. I mean, some of the costumes you'd wear and put together.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if they go as far as costumes. They're definitely eclectic outfits. Uh, I wouldn't call them costumes.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, he's referring probably to the one I wore in Dallas. My fraternity brother and his wife met me down there, and we wore matching American flag onesies, which those onesies also made a reappearance at
Ensemble.
night 2 of Deer Creek with my neighbor, because a host of us from the neighborhood now go up to Deer Creek. for the weekend. So, um, it definitely became a place where I learned to smile
Mm,
and laugh and sing, and I made stickers and shirts and took them with
mhm,
me, and that's where I started to re-engage myself
exactly.
because I could try to do it without bringing up Leslie. Like, there was no, "What's wrong with this guy?" Like, I was in the middle of, like, 30,000 people,
Yeah,
like, just they were focused on them and
yeah,
focused on the music, and there were songs I talk about Tampa. I was there with my friend Seth that night, and, um, the first encore played, and it was, I just lost it. I was sitting there and arms were crossed, and I'm crying, and Seth's standing there next to me, and I I kinda remember looking out the side of my eye, and, like, he's not sure to, like, put his arm around me or
mhm,
just kinda
mhm,
stand there, and he was fine. I don't
mhm,
think he said anything till after it was over, like, "Are you okay?" Um, but it just if I cried, I cried. If
yeah,
I laughed, I laughed, and
yeah,
I danced a lot
yeah,
and met a lot of people.
yeah,
Um, I ended up, uh I've met a couple widows and widowers that, you know, kind of do the same
right,
thing.
right,
Um, I'm in a group of, I'd probably say there's like 15, 20 of them, or just like a core group. I don't even know if they would call themselves a group, but there's 20 individuals. They all kind of meet up
yeah,
where they can at shows,
exactly,
and I'm on text groups with some of them, and there's just kind of fun groups to kind of be around with because we are all ringmasters of our own shit show back home. And we come there to where we can smile and
exactly.
have a common thing with each other.
And that is the absolute beauty of that. I mean, from the outside, sure, some people might look at you and say something like, "Tom, you're addicted to these shows. It's an addiction. It's maybe you're just avoiding." And you could make that argument that you're avoiding your feelings. But like you were saying earlier, Tom, and I couldn't agree with you more. There is just something special about music and also the body moving. And I feel like everybody has a unique reaction to grief, and they get to grieve how they want to and how they need to. And at that time, that summer, the 2024 tour was what you needed to grieve.
Yeah,
And sure, some people might have judged it, but they don't know you. They don't know what's going on inside of your head and your heart and what you need and how you connect and how you ground. And that was so profound. I mean, I think I told you this. I've enjoyed listening like last summer. I enjoyed hearing about your Dave experiences and how meaningful they were for you and how you were able to recharge and reset. And I'm glad you had Dave
yeah,
last summer.
yeah.
And you still have him,
Yeah, I still
You
have
still
them.
have him.
I did just for all concerned, I did back out of 3 shows
Ugh.
last year. It's like,
Uh,
so I didn't go to every one that I planned. I backed out of Raleigh, and
mm,
then I backed
mhm,
out of,
mm,
Madison Square Garden last year, which I'm
mhm.
still really kicking myself in the butt for. Like,
Gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah, there's a whole reason on that one. We'll talk about that. That's our session time there.
Mm.
Um, but I think we're gonna talk. It's more in I think episode 9, maybe how it's gonna be tallied up when you come back. There was the concerts were my form of therapy for me.
Exactly.
I put a lot and carried a lot for the boys, probably for some family members, for parents, some friends, whether I should or shouldn't have carried their grief and been concerned about it, I did. And that all took my energy. and the concerts were places for me to go. I was felt very good about my planning. Grandparents came up and got, weekends with kids and got to see them, in their element and play with them. If they didn't have sports or something going on, they would go to their, house and wherever that may be. So everyone was getting a feel of like the boys needed time away from me too. Like it's not any kind of comment like comparing divorced families
Right.
to a widowed family.
Right.
There is a relief
Yeah.
that can happen in a divorced family setting because there's custody. Um,
I just want to say one quick thing on that. But I think it's also important for the boys to connect with these other family members too, and have kind of I don't diversity. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but an opportunity to connect with and form these other connections with grandparents or somebody else. They need that. That really they need a village. They need their own community.
yeah, they really do.
Yeah.
And it was me, and then it was at the start a couple babysitters. It was like August of 23. We locked in. I'm not gonna use her name because they're not 18, and I don't know the legality
Right.
of it.
Right.
She's amazing. Unfortunately, we kind of she just graduated high school. She's such an amazing young lady. So excited to see the things she's going to do in her future. And she gave up so much over the last year and a half to be there for us and to have that connection with the boys. She was definitely more of like a big sister role to the boys, which was really amazing for them to have. But I guess what I'm getting to is the concerts needed to be, and they were a place for me where I could be me and I could go and do me. And I started to take a friend with me to every
Mm.
show, and that was another way I reconnected. It was a friend from Morton, that helped out a lot, or I went to Las Vegas show, and one of my best friends from high school that I played football with lived out there. So he joined me for that show. Fraternity brothers along the way. Um, this coming summer, I have 8 more shows where, like night 2 of Chicago, um, like 4 guys and their wives are coming in, and these were all guys that were ushers or groomsmen in my wedding. So it's just a great place where now I'm merging like my lifelong friends with some of these people I've met on the road.
Hmm.
And so it's a great opportunity to expand my community and myself. I think we'll talk about in the next episode, or we can even talk a little bit about today. Ryan, keep an eye on our time because I know this episode's starting to get long. I think looking back, and we talked about this later on when we figured or when I came to the realization I definitely been avoiding a lot of my grief.
Mm.
The cadence of the concerts being sometimes a month or two apart from each other ended up being the distraction in my grief. The concerts themselves were not. It was preparing the stickers, the t-shirts.
Almost a ritual that you had.
It became a
Yeah.
ritual.
Yeah.
It became like I built that
Yes,
community
exactly.
with other Dave fans that we started talking about
Mm.
those shows and those things. And that became
Mm.
a very easy distraction for me
Mhm.
to fall into. So I think it's where if I look back and say, well, here I am being really critical of myself. Okay. So
Well,
Ryan, you're telling me in my head, stop being critical of myself. But if I go back and do something differently,
right.
um, it would have been having more conversations with you about like, I probably felt some level of guilt, like coming into our appointment saying, oh man, I got these great sticker designs and I got this t-shirt going. Like, I remember at the end of concert season, I gave you a collection of the
You did.
swag that I got,
Yeah.
but I didn't really talk about all of the planning and the things I was
Uh-huh.
doing about it. And we would have probably been able to unwrap that and realize it sooner than we did. Once again, I don't take back anything I did,
Mhm.
but I think that's where I took that
Well,
experience
Right.
maybe a little too far.
But you recognized it. You recognized that you were out of balance, and also kind of noticed that maybe, the people around you, you needed to kind of rethink, retool, recalibrate, right? Which is
Yeah.
part of the grieving process, right?
hmm Um, we've talked a lot today. This was a big episode. Um, we got another one to do,
Yeah.
and it's going to be more in the details. I guess the original one we wanted this episode was to try to have people really comfortable in understanding the value of therapy, and um, our relationship has been amazing, and I'm sure other people don't get this
Yeah.
lucky. Um, I know my mom has gone through several therapists until she found one that she became comfortable with. I know one of my friends reached out to me after Leslie passed away and asked me what I was doing with my therapy because he thought he needed someone. Um, I referred him to your office. He got assigned and worked with someone. I never told you anything about him. I think till after the fact of like, hey, he's
Right.
there and he's excited. But I remember getting the call from him. Like he came out from his first appointment. He's like, I don't know if like Tom, how the hell do you do that? I don't know if I can really make this work. And I'm like, well, go back for one more. And then, if it
Yeah.
doesn't work, you
Yeah.
can always ask for another
Yeah.
doctor. And he came back out. I remember him calling me really now excited, like super excited. I was like, oh, this is going to work. I like, once I got like, it's not like what the person looks like or how tall they are. Like, it's just the fact I feel really comfortable talking
There you
to
go.
him about those things. And that's, I think, sometimes it doesn't happen on the first
No.
visit.
Oh no.
Um, but I think that uh, it can be a journey. But let's kind of wrap up today. And I know you're not a grief counselor, Ryan. I know
Right.
you don't specialize in grief. And I think I never feel for a second you would have not referred me to someone if you felt like
Right.
I needed more help than
Right.
you could
Right. Right.
provide. I always trusted you with that, and I think that's
Yeah.
the trust you have to
Yeah.
have with your therapist
Exactly.
and in the patient. But talk a little bit about there might be someone listening who they're just on the edge. They might be experiencing grief. They might just be trying to figure out like the therapy thing. I know we talked a little bit about it at the beginning, but is there anything else you want to share about workshops or things to be sure of, or maybe other people, like Father Patrick, my
Right.
priest, was
Exactly.
another great resource I had. Like, how are some ways and people you can trust to find more out about therapy?
Yeah, exactly. It's a really great and important question. I mean, really, your internet, the internet is one of the biggest resources that you have, especially if you feel like you don't have any community right now. And that's part of the problem is you might feel so alone and in shock, you don't even know who to, talk to or even start. So get on the internet. And there are some really great resources out there, and I've got to find my
Yeah, pull them out on
resource
your
list here.
notes.
Yeah, pull out the notes.
It's
Here we
okay.
go.
They can
Um,
crop out the notes if you
there,
keep them low enough on your lap.
I'll do my best.
I don't care if they see them.
Um, but first, I would say look at the communities that you're currently plugged into, right?
hmm
If you're plugged into, a church, if that's your thing, great. Check out your church. There's a lot of great resources that could be there. I think there's a program called Stephen Ministries. If your church has that, check that out. See if you can get plugged into there. There might be some great advice starting with that. Grief Share is another sort of faith-based community that a church might host. That's
Yeah.
something else you can check out. But there's also some non-spiritual, non-faith ones as well that are opened as well and inclusive. That might include What's Your Grief. I think one of the more well-known grief resources on the internet is the Dougie Center. Check that out. I know we've got a therapist on our staff that does a lot with grief, and she has frequently referenced the Dougie Center and pointed people towards that. And I hopped on their website too. They have got so much information. They can also help you. Talk to your kids about grief. Talk to other people in your family about grief who are grieving, right? So you might not even be the grieving person. You might know somebody in your family who is grieving. So the Dougie Center is an excellent resource for that. Highly recommend them. Modern Loss is another one. The Compassionate Friends, that's another one. Of course, there's so many podcasts out there. Of course, Tom's podcast is an excellent resource, but just get out there and shop around. And you might get kind of caught up on, hey, what's going to fit for me? What's going to be the right fit for me? Or kind of worried about that, like finding the right therapist, right? Hey, it's okay to shop around, look at these different resources. And from a therapist perspective, it's okay, to find somebody else. I always tell my clients, if we're not a good fit, just let me know. I'll help you find somebody who is a good fit. We just might not be a good match. It's not going to hurt my feelings, right? So I want to make sure that I'm providing you the best service that you need because it's about you getting what you need rather than me. You don't have to worry about me. So shop around. That's probably one of the biggest pieces of advice I would let somebody know who's starting out. But then again, it's normal to be afraid. It is normal to have that anxiety. So just take that step. You got to take that leap of faith and make the first call, make the first email, go to the first support group. It's okay to be anxious. I think most of those people have felt the same. So get yourself around people who have felt the same. They'll take care of you.
Yeah, I just knew I needed a male therapist, and I think I literally Googled male therapist like Peoria,
Okay. I'm
and
glad
like,
I came up.
and he came up.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, am I the only male therapist in
like
Peoria?
no, no. I think I scrolled down, like I like the first couple. I think were paid ads,
Yeah, yeah.
and
You
like,
always have that.
and I'm in advertising, so
Yeah,
I know like that's just not what I'm gonna
yeah.
click on. And then I think you were like within the first couple that I saw, and I'm like,
Yes,
oh, sweet. Okay,
yes.
cool. I can handle that, and
Cool.
called the office and Barb got me set up.
Rest is history.
Yeah. Um, so we're going to talk a little bit in our next
Right.
time together, what I kind of call stories from the couch.
Okay.
I want to talk about like some of the stories and some of the more in-depth of the things we experienced and conversations that we had. I think you have some questions um, to ask me to
Yes. Oh, Tom, I always have questions,
just to
man.
kind of like
I've
unpack
been
some
like
other scenario.
holding myself back this whole episode, like so many questions.
Okay, so yeah, because we've been on this one plenty long. So I think we have a lot of great conversations coming up in our next episode together. Unfortunately, if you are listening to this live, you have a couple weeks till that episode airs. But there's a lot of great conversations that happen in between the times you're going to hear Ryan and I talk. I'm I'm really excited we got to do this today.
Yeah.
Um,
Enjoyed it, Tom.
yeah, there's so many things we could keep talking about
Right.
and hammering on, and I'm just really excited people have sat through, maybe hopefully most of this, and can have some faith or comfort in knowing that the stigmas around therapy don't
Mm,
have to be so negative
exactly.
and can have unmeasurable success,
Hmm.
and I'm proof. And it's not necessarily anything because of what Ryan says. It's the environment he creates, the trust that we've built together. And yeah, I'm really excited for you out there. If you are doing therapy, stick with it.
Hmm.
Do what you need. If not,
Absolutely.
man, I even look to what there is. I think the other resource I'll say for those going through grief, if you're looking for one, it just popped into my mind. Your employer
Hmm.
through their healthcare program, and now a lot of states will offer so many um, therapy sessions through their provider or through their 800 number you can call. It may not be perfect, but if you're in a moment where you just need someone and you need something now
Right.
and you know nowhere else to go, there are options you have with your full-time employer
Yeah.
that might be an option. And if you unfortunately go through the loss of a child, of a spouse, of a parent, usually the insurance companies that are involved will provide you with some resources, reading materials, phone numbers, even some free options within the first 12 months. So
Hmm.
don't be afraid to ask and turn up any rock you want if you
Hmm.
feel like that'll be something that'll help you. I think it'll definitely help you in the long run when you have a chance to look back. So
One quick thing on that. When you reach out to your HR department, that's called an employee assistant program. That's the specific term you need to ask about, an employee assistance program, EAP.
thank you very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
welcome.
So we'll wrap that up. We're going to get to it. I appreciate it very much for joining us
Yes.
today. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us and the input and the conversation you have. Um, Viewers, listeners, thank you for sitting and listening. I look forward to the next episode and the next conversation we get to have, and hopefully help you just understand that there's no right or wrong way to go through grief,
Exactly.
just your way. And you'll get this. I got this. We'll all get this. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. I hope today's episode will help guide you forward. My goal for this podcast has always been to create a safe place for people who are navigating their grief journey to lean on one another and share their own experiences. I ask that you share, subscribe, like, and comment so we know how to best support you. Finally, we rely on listeners like you to help keep this journey going. Guide Through Grief is dependent on the support and contributions from you. Please consider supporting the show and our cause. Visit our social media pages or click the link in our description for more information. Thank you.